What's going on, guys? B Scott here with you, and on today's show, we got your tight end sit starts heading in to week number 15. It's time for the playoffs. Must-win territory at this point in the season. Every week matters. So we're going to be talking about tight ends today. I got some starts, sits, and some stream options heading into this week. So keep it locked and loaded right here at the first four downs. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. As I mentioned in the preview, we're going through your tight end sit starts heading in to week number 15. Lots of people love the tight end video because the tight ends are so hard to judge. So everyone is out there looking for the tight end information. So the way I like to do it, I like to roll through your must-start tight ends. I typically give my top 10 ranked or so, and then I give some sits, guys that I just would probably be straying away from, and then some stream options in good matchups. So before we get to today's content, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, all that good stuff, and then comment. There's a tight end I don't talk about because I'm not talking about all of them. Drop in the comment section, and I'll give you my advice. Start, sit one over the other, flex two, whatever you have, any information, especially related to the tight end position for this video, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my advice. So let's start at the top, and I like to start, like I said, with the studs. So first off, Mark Andrews, facing the Green Bay Packers, the number one ranked tight end on the season right now for fantasy football. He's been outstanding. Even with Hundley under center, if he's there, I'd be firing Mark Andrews here. He's averaged 10 targets over his last 4 games. You're not going to get much better than that at the tight end position. So, number 2, Travis Kelce. Looking to bounce back-to-back weeks of duds. 3 catches, 27 yards, I want to say. Back-to-back weeks, exact same stats. They're at the Los Angeles Chargers. Good spot here to bounce back. Los Angeles, bottom 5 against tight end position for fantasy points to tight ends. So Travis Kelce, you got to be firing him here. Just a great spot. It's Travis Kelce. There's no way you're sitting him. Doesn't matter. George Kittle facing the Atlanta Falcons. The only hope I have for George Kittle is they get up in this game or they run heavy. And you see when they run heavy, it limits the targets and the amount of passing attempts for Jimmy Garoppolo. But Kittle's been outstanding, especially over the last 2 weeks. There's no way you're sitting him. Over 150 yards back-to-back games. Fire him up, no problem. Dawson Knox facing the Carolina Panthers. Kind of a toughish matchup, but Dawson Knox has been great, especially coming back from injury. His first game back, 1 catch for 7 yards, I want to say. But since then, he's been on a tear. Got to get him in your lineups. 9 targets, 7 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. That's what he's coming off of, so Dawson Knox must start. Mike Gesicki facing the New York Jets. They're bottom 10 against tight end position. 11 targets, 7 catches, 46 yards for Gesicki before the bye. We were worried about his target share kind of dipping, and what happens? He goes out and has 11 targets. So I get it. Devontae Parker's back. Jalen Waddle's healthy, and the New York Jets stink as a football team. So maybe Gesicki's not leaned on as heavily, but it's a good spot here at the tight end position. I'd be firing Mike Gesicki. Rob Gronkowski, nothing short of outstanding. He's facing the New Orleans Saints. 8+ targets in 4 straight games for Rob Gronkowski, so there's no way you're sitting Rob Gronkowski. Dallas Goedert facing the Washington football team, coming off a huge game in which 6 catches on 6 targets for 105 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Jets before their bye, with Gardner Minshew under center. So if Jalen Hurts is back, obviously, I'd still be starting Goddard here. They're facing the Washington football team. That secondary struggled a little bit. They've been okay against the tight end position, but I'd still be firing Goddard here. I think he has upside. And on top of that, it's a divisional matchup. Should be a competitive game. Pat Freiermuth versus Tennessee Titans. A tough matchup. Tennessee, I want to say, is bottom 5 against tight ends based on defense. 5th fewest fantasy points to the tight end position. But Freiermuth, a touchdown in 5 of his last 7 games, and he's just getting it done, especially in the red zone. Almost had 2 touchdowns last week, so I'd be firing Pat Freiermuth here as a top 10 option. I have Zach Ertz at the Detroit Lions coming off game. Played just last night. 7 targets, 5 catches for 42 yards. Nothing outstanding, but 9 to 10 fantasy points in full PPR. You'll pretty much take that on any given week for Zach Ertz, and he's got some touchdown upside. He's played great with the Arizona Cardinals. And DeAndre Hopkins did look like he got banged up on the second to last series, missed the whole final series of that game last night. So you got to worry about his injury outlook. If he was to miss the game, that just bodes well for Zach Ertz. So I like Zach Ertz as a start here. Detroit Lions, they just stink as a football team. Hunter Henry, going to round out my 10 here at the Indianapolis Colts. You've seen his floor. It's not really there without the touchdowns over the last 2 weeks before the bye. He just wasn't, or the last 3 weeks, I should say, Buffalo as well. But without a touchdown, he hasn't been relevant. Well, this is a good spot here. He's at the Indianapolis Colts. Second most receptions and yards to the tight end position. So it's a good spot for Hunter Henry. I'd be firing him here. So, and then there's a couple guys I have just based on injuries, whether I would start him or sit him. TJ Hawkinson dealing with a hand injury. If he's active and available, it's hard to sit him because he does have upside, but it's not a good matchup. So maybe you sit him here if he can't get any practice time in. And then Darren Waller at the Cleveland Browns. He's a must-start tight end if he's available. If he's out, Foster Moreau just hasn't been getting it done, so I wouldn't lean that way either. So now on to a few sits, guys that I don't love the outlooks for this week. And yes, there's a couple of them you're probably going to have to be starting them, but it's going to be tough. So first off, Kyle Pitts at San Francisco 49ers. Just one tight end has cleared 50 yards since week 1 against 49ers. That was CJ Uzomah, just cleared 56 yards. Kyle Pitts really only getting it done in the yardage department. Only 1 touchdown since week 5, I want to say. Yeah, 0 touchdowns since week 5. So he's not getting targeted that much in the red zone. They're not getting it done. He's not getting it done in the red zone. And the San Francisco 49ers don't give up a lot of yards and a lot of fantasy points to the tight end position. So I don't like the outlook here. Kyle Pitts, I understand if you got to start him. He's a guy that can get you 4 or 5 catches for 50 yards, and you'll live with 10 fantasy points. I mean, even on the top 12 tight ends, I mean, you see it, 12 fantasy points will get you in the top 10. So Kyle Pitts, maybe if you got some better options, I'd potentially be sitting him this week. Another sit for me, Dalton Schultz at the New York Giants. This hurts me a little bit. Dallas Cowboys just look poor on offense. I don't know what they got going. Dak Prescott's really struggling to throw the football. They're struggling to run the football. No healthy backs. At this point, Corey Clement, I'd probably just start him over Zeke because Zeke doesn't look healthy and Tony Pollard's not healthy either. So, but they got to get a run game going to establish some sort of run so they can get that passing game and open up some passing lanes. So Dalton Schultz at the New York Giants, not a bad spot here, but the consistency's fallen off. His target share is just completely fallen off, especially with all 3 wide receivers healthy, and we've seen it. Just 3 targets, 1 catch for 4 yards last week. Just 1 touchdown since week 4. That's 9 games, and in that 9-game stretch, he has 3 games under 3 fantasy points. So just not good for Dalton Schultz. I get it if you want to take a chance. He's just turned more of a boom or bust tight end at this point. So it'd be hard for me to trust him. And then Cole Kmet, I got him as a sit this week. He's had a couple okay games, and he's been up and coming, but Jimmy Graham's still stealing the red zone looks there. Facing the Minnesota Vikings, they've allowed a touchdown in 3 straight games, albeit in short yardage situations, and Jimmy Graham is really still getting targets in the red zone. So that's why I don't like Cole Kmet's outlook. 5 targets, 3 catches for 17 yards with Justin Fields back under center last week. Minnesota held all tight ends under 50 yards since week 3. So it's just not a good outlook here for Cole Kmet. He hasn't been getting it done in the red zone. He hasn't been getting touchdowns, so I don't like the outlook. I'd be sitting him this week. On to some stream options, guys that I like this week and plus matchups. First off, Austin Hooper and David Njoku. Now, one of these guys, if David Njoku was to come back, I kind of like him better than Austin Hooper. He's just more athletic at the tight end position, especially on downfield targets. But Austin Hooper, I like it. Las Vegas Raiders, second most fantasy points to the tight end position. 5 touchdowns to tight ends since week 8. Hooper, I had him as a good stream option last week because there was no tight ends available. David Njoku and Harrison Bryant both out, and it was a good matchup. And what happened? 7 targets, 5 catches, 30 yards, and a touchdown. So 9+ PPR points in 3 of his last 4 games. And the Raiders giving up the third most touchdowns to tight ends at 9. So I just like the outlook here for Austin Hooper. If Njoku and Harrison Bryant were both to miss again, I would be starting Austin Hooper. Let's say Harrison Bryant is out. I like David Njoku if he's back. So I just like the outlook of one of these tight ends. I would lean Njoku if he's back and healthy. If not, and Hooper's left the lone man once again, I'd be firing him easy as a top 12 option. Another guy I like, Gerald Everett, facing the Los Angeles Rams. Little revenge game. That's really why I like him here. He's had 2 touchdowns in his last 3 games, 2 catches on 2 targets for 15 yards and a touchdown. He's just been red zone productive. The game in which he didn't have a touchdown in the last 3, he did have a catch within the 5-yard line, fumbled the ball against the San Francisco 49ers. So he's getting utilized heavily in the red zone, especially because Seattle's not been able to generate that great run offense, especially in the red zone. So I like Gerald Everett as a good start this week against his former team, the Los Angeles Rams. A good spot here for a little revenge game. I think you can see a decent amount of targets, yards, maybe you find the end zone in this one. And then Ricky Seals-Jones. Last week, I didn't really love the outlook just because he hasn't played. He hasn't been healthy and on the field, and you've seen it last week. Ran limited routes, I should say. Bates, the other tight end, rookie tight end, ran more routes than he did, but Ricky Seals-Jones still out-targeted him 4-2 last week. 4 targets, just 1 catch for 8 yards, but he's facing the Philadelphia Eagles. You got to start a tight end against Philadelphia Eagles. Why? They give up the most fantasy points to tight ends, and it's not even close. They give the most yards, the most receptions, the most touchdowns, just the most everything. So Ricky Seals-Jones, I think another healthy week of practice. We'll wait and see if he can get through the week and be ready to go. But I would be firing him in a plus matchup here and a Washington football team in a must-win game, a great divisional game. So I like his outlook. He's averaged nearly 6 targets per game without Logan Thomas on the field this year. So give me Ricky Seals-Jones as a good stream option heading into week number 15. So that's it. That's your tight end sit start stream heading in to week number 15. It's the playoffs, must-win games. Start your studs. You got to go out there and get those W's. And once again, if there was a tight end you want to hear more about, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my opinion on whether to start them or sit them, flex them, whatever questions you have. And while you're there, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell for all your fantasy content all the way up to the championships. I'll be doing it every single week. We're going to have some playoff videos. We're going to have lots of fun stuff in the works. So for the first 4 downs, it's been B. Scott, and I'm out.